Hello, fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests. Motivational strategies and changing trends. Under this podcast series, this is next episode. In this episode, we will try to see the motivation from historic perspective till now and what will be the new trends. So those will be the next topics. But in this chapter, we will see from historic perspective till now. We know that leadership is a basic instinct. If you go to the animal worlds, we see that distinctively. That's the pack of wolves. It has a leader. Look at that flock of geese. They have a leader. If you go to insects, ants, bees, they have a leader. Earlier humanity, when they were hunter-gatherers, they used to be led by somebody. So the group used to be led by somebody. Leadership is a basic instinct. So where motivation comes from? Motivation is something we can define such that it needs a force to do something more than bare minimum. Basic instinct will do necessity. Like if you're hungry, you go for it. So that's not there, doesn't need any motivation. Motivation needs when you want to achieve excellence or do better, thrive for better, or achieve the self-actualization. That's where the motivation comes. When you go to, let's say, example of ants or bees, we know there is a leader. But do you know that queen ant or queen bee assign a task to individual? Like those worker ants or worker bees, they have been assigned a day-to-day task and they are doing it? No, because they are programmed or they have a basic instinct. They go without that. But in humans, that's not possible. I would say don't even try it. If you say that this is the work, you know what to do it, you know what is good for you, you know what is good for your career, just go and do it. Things doesn't work that way. You need a leader, and achieve the best or thriving for the best needs some kind of good motivational strategies. So that's what is the importance of motivation. Using motivation, you will be able to do more than bare minimum, and that will be good for you because you will achieve the excellence feeling as well as self-actualization, and whatever the path or the organization or hierarchy you're following, it will be good for that hierarchy and then the top level. So that's how the motivation should be there. There are different types of motivations are there. So we will go over it. Let's go from the historic perspective. What were the great motivations? When we want to study the motivation, we have to always see what factors increase the motivation, and those are called motivators, and we have to see what are the demotivators, because even something is motivators are there but demotivators can prevent it. So we have to see from both sides, both perspectives. So we need to reduce the demotivators and increase the motivators so that it will be the self-actualization or self-excellence, and it will make the project or the whatever the thing we are doing as a team will be good. So we need to see those strategies. As a good leader, or every good leader will look for those strategies. Motivation, even if you see the physical nature, there are electron is there, here is a proton is there. Why the electricity doesn't flow? It won't. It needs the induction to happen. Then the electromotive force, which is called EMF, which will induce. When the induction happens, the coils rotate in between the uh, magnetic field or any other electric field, then uh, it will induce the electromotive force, and then current starts flowing. That's what needs to happen. It won't happen automatically. The good leader will see what are the motivators and what are the demotivators, and then he will arrange the motivational strategy accordingly. So team will achieve the excellence using that. What were the earlier motivations? Power. If you see all the, I mean, what is the mother root of all the struggle, or like power? Power was always the motivation. So even you have everything, but you want to achieve more. So that's how the struggle happened. And probably, if you think the good application of it is the humanity spread all over. So humanity did not spread all over just because of climate change or food shortages, but probably achieve more power. That's what also the major reasons we see. Let's go to the earliest one. We know every human being or Homo sapien or Neanderthal, whatever it is, started from the Ethiopian corridor of the, and then it spread all over. So I want to take an example where the everywhere the land was like continuous. So most probably they walk. When they reach to the probably the end point where there's the ocean, I want to talk about it. When the Pacific Ocean was first explored in the modern times, we saw all the small islands of the Micronesia. They were habited by the people. Now, how that happened? Because those islands did not move with tectonic plate movement away from the land. They were in that middle of the Pacific. Wherever the people reach to those islands is a very vast journey. And using those navigational equipments or the boats or everything, we cannot say how they reach there. How they reach and why they reach, because we see that whatever the land it may have traveled, it should have enough resources for that time. So they were trying to reach there. They were trying to cross the Pacific. We know that it used to be the typhoons or hurricanes used to be there at that time as well. They didn't have any charted routes for that. They wouldn't be going there for just for fishing. We can understand. And they didn't sweat by any hurricane in all those islands. I cannot take that coincidence. So they must have traveled it. What was the motivation? Did you try to think about it? They may be trying to find God. Isn't it? When humans try to go to space, go to the outer space, or try to go out of the solar system, people ask why. We know Mars has very less oxygen, and habitation there is a very difficult. Why you are going out of the solar system? We know that such a huge distances, such a huge time, humanity is not going to achieve it in their lifetime. But we still do it. Isn't it the same motivation? And that motivation is not today, but it was their prehistoric time as well. At that time, they were crossing the unknown ocean with those equipments. And we are crossing the vast space with these equipments today. That's the motivation, as we can explain. After that, when humans were settled more as a society, then religious thing came. And religious motivation was a most important factor we need to study. We want to forget about everything else. Religious motivation was very important. It made people to do lots of great things. With religious motivation, lots of great things has happened in the human society. That's what we want to see. If you just, I want to give an example. Suppose if you want to ask like today's corporate executives or any other executives and ask to do certain things, So they will think that even though they are doing any philanthropic activities, it still has some interest. Okay, they think, okay, I will get this or that. Why those folks, they reach to the deep jungles, unknown lands, like several places where humanity was not, the civilization was not reached. Those people went there. They were explaining them. They were helping them. Not everybody was motivated that I will become saint or I will be beatified as a saint, and then that's why I'm doing it. No, they were doing because they thought that's a God's work, that's a good work, and that's what we are looking at. And that was the great motivation. Several great civilization went to the several remote places, and the good thing happened. The religious motivation was there, and even today, a lot of people do several great things without any in return or something, but they do great thing. Religious motivation is always there, and that's the great thing we are talking about from motivational perspective only. That's what I wanted to highlight. So that was the really great thing. Apart from that, what was the ancient motivation? So we saw they may be trying to find God because that's how those islands might be inhabited. People were trying to find God, as well as they were trying to find something starts with G, that is gold. Do you know those alchemists? Have you heard about them? All the inventions or scientific inventions, root is there. You know, Kemia means the land on the side of the Nile. And those were like, at that time, they were called alchemists, or they were magicians, literally. And they were doing so many great things using chemical activities or something. What they were trying to do, what alchemists were motivated about, to make every metal into gold. Gold was the motivation, and several chemical reactions or physical understanding what humanity got at that time, that was the reason. So those alchemists, so they were trying to find something which will turn every metal into gold. Then they were trying to find some solution where everything will get dissolved. So that was, so that actually led to some kind of sulfuric acid or nitric acid at that time. So those motivation helped us with the today's invention. That was the root of that. So we want to study that. From modern times, now we will come to medieval times, and then later we saw there were motivation was driven by the commerce. After that, people were not really ready for fight. When the industrial revolution happened, it's not necessary somebody has to be king there, as long as they get the markets. So market driven motivation was there, and that led to the what we see, the several sea routes were found and several new invention happened. Because when you are trying to achieve more growth in production, we see the lots of invention happen behind it, and that was the great motivation which is helping us today. After that, let's come to the current scenario. Lots of motivation theories have been proposed, and most of those theories are since last 100 years or 70 to 80 years. They have been developed in 1950s, 60s, and using those motivational strategies, they were proving that if you follow this strategy or these patterns, the production grows so, throughput of the production goes so huge. Without those motivation strategies and with those motivation strategies, they were able to see. I'm not going to explain you the Maslow's theory or Herzberg's theory of motivation. You know that theory X, theory Y, all those things are there. That's not the purpose of explaining you. There are plethora of books are there in the library, and everywhere you can go through it. We want to see that motivation and how it applies to the current era. Those motivation strategies were there at that time where industrialization were mostly manufacturing, and they were trying to achieve the production lines or production growth and make it production more better. So those things were there. What will become your self-actualization? That means you will do things more. or you will do more than bare minimum. That was the theory. I'm not explaining that, what I'm saying now. If you come today, because that's our topic, that motivation strategies and changing trends. If you come today, what you will like if you ask that question. When 50 years back that question was asked, then what is your actualization or what you will like? And then person will give that, okay, this is what he will likes to do. And then if you give him that kind of work, then it or increase the attributes or the factors to lead to that, then you will get more throughput. Today also that theory stays. What is difference? That's what we want to understand. If you ask the same question, what you like, do you know what will be the answer most of the time? Most of the time people like something which they are not doing. It will always happen. So when we are applying the motivation strategies today, we have to understand, we have to take the changing trends into the consideration. Self-actualization can be in anything. It might not be in the work. People have got a self-actualization in, like, say, singing, but they are doing work of this. You have to understand that self-actualization is not necessary at the work, because we have our paradigms are so much increased that we may get self-actualization in different places or different fields, what I'm trying to say. So when we are understanding motivation, we have to get these things into picture. So I will be discussing more about that in the next. The theories, so motivation theories, how they change with the current trend, that's what we'll understand. So current area, what are the other motivational things? Studying with the big figures, that's another great example. And that's how we can increase the motivation. So if you give the special attention to certain things, the motivation increases. Let's come with a story. Now this time I'll give you a different story, so which you probably not heard about, or I did not tell about. So this story is about King Napoleon. We know King Napoleon was started with an ordinary soldier from the island called Corsica, which is stands between the Italian land and the French land. So a small soldier from the Corsican island become the emperor of the great kingdom. And not only he just become it, but if you see, he was successful in several areas. And we study how it about the power, and then how he governed it. His governance is a great way of study as well. Here is the story about him. So when he was on the wars or voyages, wars, so in the middle of the night, the story says that Napoleon, who was the emperor, he would be taking alone a stroll in between the soldiers' tents. So in the middle of the night, even an ordinary soldier may get a visit from the king, like King Napoleon may be coming to him and say cheers. That increases the motivation. So those are the theories. So those how we apply there. So we are going to study that. How we want to understand that, like, if you take the 10,000 people, you don't get 10,000 ideas. So one person or less number of people get the idea, and then that gets then when they proposed it, that's how the others will follow it. So if you see the example of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, look at the idea. Jeff Bezos, when he started, he was trying to sell things from his garage on the internet. In the 1990s to 2000, how many people had internet and who wanted to use the internet to place order, and then he will get the e-delivery, because there were other stores were there. But that was the idea, and that motivated the people to get more ideas, and that's how we see how the current scenarios are changing. So where we are going? Are we just trying to increase the manufacturing? No. With technology advancement, we can solve the basic problems humanity has faced. Technology has the answer. If you, we know even today there is a enough food, there is a food shortage is there, water shortage is there, and diseases are there, and we don't have answer. But with technology, we will, or we are having that answer. So we know that creation of the artificial protein or uh, infinite energy. So all those researches will lead to, there won't be any basic problems what humanity faced, they won't be there. So all the material problems what humanity faced, technology has answer. That's why those motivations are important and the research is important. Apart from that, I want to tell you the other theory, probably you are all aware of that. So there are like type 0, type 1 and type 2 civilization. Type 0 civilization means that civilization uses the resources from the planet and the host star. So in our example, we take the resources from the earth and whatever sun provides. We know we are not really using the sun's energy that much because we use the fossil fuels and whatever is available. If you want to do a terraform Mars, or you want to terraform some satellites of Jupiter and make them habitable, we cannot have the fossil fuel or that kind of energy. We need the energy from our host star. If we have the technology to get the energy from star like our sun and make it into controlled manner, then we can terraform part of the Mars and make it habitable. Or in smaller scale, we can terraform certain smaller satellites of Jupiter which could be habitable. When there may be like terminal event like a asteroid is coming down, so humanity will be ready. When we start using that kind of energy, that's called type 1 civilization. We need to get ready for that. So all those motivations are extremely important. Those are not just a research, those were absolutely required things. Type 2 civilization means they can even use the interstellar energy, like between stars, and they can move the galaxies. We those are at the conceptual level. We don't want to talk about it, but that's the type 2 civilization. All these things can be achieved if you have the great motivation. Doing bare minimum will not achieve this. So motivation strategies in the current scenario and the changing trends, we want to study it. But everything has a basis, even our earliest humanity has done it. Look at those habitated islands in the middle of the Pacific. That will tell you how today's humans are trying to go into the space. Same motivation. I think this is good for today's episode. We'll meet in the next episode and we will elaborate these concepts more and with more examples. And we will try to take the current certain figures and then how they apply the motivation theories, like Jack Welch or Elon Musk, my favorite, or Jeff Bezos, how they achieved it, and that will be in our next episode. Thank you. Stay tuned.